Originally, I'm from West Virginia, born and raised, went to college there, and lived in several different states, about 7 different locations, because my employer at the time was Goodyear, and they transferred me to various states across the country, and now we live in Massillon, Ohio.
Right. When did you start playing poker, and what got you interested in the game?
I think I actually started playing a variety of poker probably when I was, maybe 16, 17 years old. My neighbor and his mother played penny ante poker, and I learned that, and then I went on to college, and then I played a lot of poker. And then after college, just the different locations that I've worked, just friends sitting around playing 7-card stud, playing 5-card stud, and then eventually learned Texas Hold'em while I was actually in Texas.
Wow. Are there other games that you play that influence your poker game?
Other games that influence my poker game. I'd like to play solitaire. That's just pretty much the cards dictate what plays and what doesn't. But poker is the only game I think that I really am engaged in where it pits the cards against cards, but it also pits the person mentally against the other person, so the psychology comes into it as well.
How often do you play poker? Is it cash or tournament? And do you play online?
I play tournament only, and the reason for that is I just enjoy the challenge because I know that if I buy in for $20 or $40 and I get busted and I can just open my wallet and put in another 20 or 40. So I try to self-discipline myself enough to where I only play tournaments. I play right now about twice a week in a couple of different leagues, and then I also play on Wednesday. And I do not play online. I've never played one hand of poker online, and the reason for that is I'm retired. I have all the time in the world on my hands. I do not want to sit in front of a computer for hours upon hours and play poker online. But I do have, it's a little handheld poker, World Series of Poker game. I play that for hours at a time by myself. I'm on my 3rd one. I've literally worn out the other 2, and I've had that probably for about 6 or 7 years. So my wife can be in the room reading. I can be with my handheld poker game, and we're both in hog heaven.
Steve, do you play to win? Do you play to play the game? Do you think you're mostly interested in the fame, the fortune, or just the happiness of playing?
I'm extremely competitive. Anything I do, I try to do to the best of my ability. Anything that I do, I try to do when I'm competing against other people. I try to win. But at the same time, when I'm playing in a tournament or when I'm playing in a league, it's a $20 or $30 game. I enjoy the social aspect of it. I enjoy the camaraderie of the people. And like I said, to me, it's a passion that I have. It's one of my bad habits, playing poker.
What are your strengths as a poker player?
I think my biggest strength is to play the game for what it is. It's a game. I try to win. I know that in order to be successful, you have to sometimes be lucky. You have to suck out on some of the cards. You have to avoid having other people suck out on you. But if there's one thing that I've learned over the last few years is that when you play poker, you're going to lose. And when you lose with grace. And sometimes I've been fortunate enough to win a tournament. And if that happens, then you have to learn how to win with grace as well.
So with that said, how do you decide how to lay a hand down when you know you're beat?
That's tough. If I know I'm beat, it's a pretty easy decision, but a lot of times people will represent a good hand, and then I have to look at my cards and determine whether or not, if I lose, whether I want to go home when I've only played for half an hour. Excuse me. And if that's the case, then I may throw down the winning hand. But if I think I've got the best hand, I'm going to play the best hand. And I've left early many times.
What is your favorite hand?
I think my favorite hand, obviously, is the best hand. But when people play some of the weird cards, I think the cards that I like to play best are 6-8. They're not a pair, but they're not connected, but they're close enough that the flop can still come up with three cards that can put you easily in the range of a straight.
What are your thoughts about skill versus luck in a tournament? And how do you use that to your advantage, or in your strategy, I guess?
I think the skills come into play that you need to understand what is a good hand. You need to understand that a part of the skills to me is having the self-discipline to look at your cards, look at the opponent's cards, and make a decision whether or not they have the best cards. And if they do, then you lay it down. To me, the other part of the skill is the psychological part. I mentioned that before. I love trying to do certain things that throw people off. I will give fake tells, like maybe draw a flush and go, which lets them think that I didn't hit. When in reality, if they're looking for a tell, they got one. They thought it was a bad tell. Thought it was a good tell for them, but it was truly a bad tell. And I do that periodically.
Mm-hmm. With that said, would you say that you would define yourself as a gambler?
Absolutely. Yes, I am a gambler.
Who's your favorite professional poker player?
I think probably the one that I like the best is a person that very much reminds me in appearance of my son, and that would be Eric Lindgren. Eric is a blonde-haired person, probably about 6'2". My son is blonde hair, blue eyes, about 6'4". And my son and I play cards a lot when we're together. And we play 500 rummy. And when I see Eric play, I just picture that as my son Brandon, and I enjoy watching that particular individual play.
How much do you read or have you read about poker? And do you understand the theories, the strategies, the basic math?
I'd like to say I'm a student of the game. I read a lot of books. I've read a lot of books. I watch poker when it's on television. I get magazines sometimes and look at that. Recently I read the book on Stu Unger, and that was a very enlightening book to read because of his skills, but also the demons that he had to fight through in his life. But I think very much I do anything I can to try and improve my skills to make me a better poker player.
Why do you want to play poker being broadcast live on the internet?
The biggest reason, and I've had this discussion with my wife, the biggest reason is that when the game is over, and many times I've left a tournament, and all the way home I thought of the cards that the person sucked out on me. And you think that you played it the best that you could, but at the same time, you're not real sure. I've had the occasion to play a couple times on live TV with our Akron Poker League, and I've gone home, and when it was available, I looked at it, and then I made some decisions based on what I was able to see, what my opponents had, whether or not I played it the best or whether or not the person got the best of me. I really like the opportunity to analyze my play, and that's the feedback that you really don't get when you're playing poker.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about your poker skills or your knowledge?
No, I would think that with as many years as I've played, if I get the opportunity to play, I would be grateful. And if I don't, then I look at it as it just wasn't meant to be, but I'm still going to play poker at least twice a week.
Tell me, I'm interested about to hear you talk a little bit more about your interest in the psychology of the game.
A lot of times people are very vocal at a table. And to me, I just listen. There's an old saying that I learned a lot of years ago in West Virginia, and that is that if God had intended you to talk more than listen, he would have given you 2 mouths and only one ear. So I like to sit at a table and listen to the discussion. The people who are very loud, vocal, I just try to figure out what's their game. Why are they doing that? Because when I play to win, and I play to be very serious. But at the same time, when I'm not in a hand or when there's a break or something like that, I'm very social. But the psychology of it, trying to figure out what they're thinking, them trying to figure out what I'm thinking, and then you just get into the game playing back and forth where you try to throw them off with just little things, like I said, just maybe making a false tell or things like that. The psychology to me is just a really fun thing to do in addition to the competition.
Anything else? Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, this is quite an engagement. Shaworski?